Are you looking for an underwater camera for beginners, specifically when it comes to filming underwater? Well, if that's the case, make sure to stick around and I'll share with you the 6 features that I find most important in such a camera. Coming up. Hi there and welcome back to the Underwater Filmmaking School. My name is Matthias and I'm very happy to see you here again. If you're new to the channel, we are all about filming underwater and underwater cinematography. If those are topics that interest you and you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, this would be a great opportunity to hit that little subscribe button and also the notification bell so you do get notified whenever we publish a new video to one of these topics here on the channel. Now today I want to talk about the 6 features that I find most important in a beginner's camera when it comes to filming underwater. Also, I'm going to give you at the end of the video a recommendation on what camera I find ideal for beginners. But let's start with the 6 features that I find most important. First and foremost, I find that a beginner's camera for filming underwater should be small and easy, intuitive to use. So you don't spend too much time learning on how to use the camera, but you can just go on your dive, you can have it in your BCD pocket, and whenever something interesting comes up during the dive, you can just pull it out and by the push of a button, you can basically start to film. Obviously, this is something that doesn't just apply to cameras for beginners, but generally speaking to all cameras that are used in the underwater environment. But you want to have those cameras built in a very robust way, and they should also be able to take a fair bit of views on a daily basis. Now you're gonna have those cameras on boats. There is a chance of them being banged against tanks, against boats, against other divers. So it is a good idea to actually pay attention to what material the camera is made out of, preferably not plastic. They can crack quite easily and you won't be able to take that camera down for the next dive anymore. None of us like to spend too much money on the equipment, maybe with the exception of a couple of geeks that really just love the equipment side of things and want to spend all their money and put all their money into their cameras and equipment. But normally when you start off with filming underwater, finances are not abundant. You don't really want to spend as much as you can on the camera, but you want to get a decent deal. So for me, also an important factor is the price of the camera and that it's not too expensive for you to actually get into filming underwater. Even as a beginner who has just started filming underwater, you do want to get decent image quality. So that's also a fairly important factor in your choosing process for your first underwater filming camera. Now there's different factors again that are combined in the feature of image quality, and it's basically how easy it is to get a pleasing image out of it. Whether or not you can use filters, whether or not the camera has integrated electronic filters, whether or not you have different options for frame rate, for resolution, all that sort of stuff. Also stabilization of the image is an important factor that is in this point. A factor that is probably more important for beginners than it is for advanced shooters underwater, in my opinion at least, is the shareability of your footage. What I mean with this is how easy is it after you dive to just grab a clip that you've just taken underwater and share it somewhere. Most professionals will always run it through a computer and do a bit of color correction and a bit of trimming and then use the clip somewhere. But sometimes as a beginner or an amateur, it's actually quite nice to be able to come up after a dive, grab a clip that you've taken of a turtle, a shark, Nemo, whatever you've captured, and just put it out on Facebook, on Instagram, on one of your social media profiles within minutes literally. And there is cameras that can do that quite well, and there is others that can't do that very well. So I would always go for a camera that gives you as much shareability for the footage as possible. And last but not least, the battery life is also a feature or a factor that is fairly important in my opinion. Now, with battery, you want to make sure that your battery will last for at least an entire dive, or at least an hour. Better even if you can make it last for 2 hours, so you can go through the entire day of diving if you're doing a 2-tank dive day, so that you don't have to exchange batteries and all that sort of stuff in between dives. Alright guys, and those will be the 6 most important features in my opinion that you should look out for in a underwater camera for a beginner, specifically when we talk about filming underwater. Now, there's one camera in my opinion that actually meets most of that criteria, and that would be the Paralens Dive Camera Plus. I've had this camera for quite a while. I've used it on various occasions and it's been with me on quite a few trips. I've also done quite a few reviews on this camera already on this channel, so if you're interested in checking that camera out a little more in detail, please click the link here in the video and it will take you to the playlist with all the review videos of the Paralens cameras. So feel free to do that as well. I do think that it actually ticks most of the boxes that we just talked about, most of those features. There's only one that I think it only covers or only ticks about halfway, and that's the price tag. Now, this camera is not the cheapest one. It comes in at around $550 right now on Amazon. So there certainly is cheaper cameras for filming underwater out there, but I still think that this is a very, very good choice. It's small, it's easy to use and intuitive to use as well. It is robust. The image quality that comes out of this camera is quite nice, and even if you don't want to put any extra work into the post-production process, you can basically use most of the clips that you film with this camera right away from the memory card, so you don't really need to do any post-production with this camera, in my opinion, unless you really want to. Shareability, pretty cool. With the app that comes with the camera, you can wirelessly just transfer all the footage from the camera onto the app and then use that footage and share it onto your social media channels right away. So that works very nicely, and the battery life is quite okay depending on whether you shoot in 1080p or in 4K. You will get either 2 or 3 hours of battery time out of this little camera. Alright guys, and that's basically it for today's video. I hope you got something out of this video. I hope it was useful and even entertaining to you. If that's the case, please do hit that like button. As you know, it does mean a lot to me, and also consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't yet, so you're not missing out on any future content that will be uploaded here regularly. Should there be any other questions regarding the choosing process of a camera for shooting underwater, please feel free to put your questions down in the comment section and I'll be more than happy to get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.